Following is a review of the Maxmind MinFraud system, which I personally use to detect fraud on transactions on my website. Now what this system does is it takes the data that the customer enters, for instance, their email address, their billing address, country, the first few digits of their credit card number, and it compares that with their credit card information. For instance, like, is the bank located in the same country? Is the IP address located in the same area as what they indicated that the shipment is going to? And this can help you decide whether the order is fraudulent or not. For instance, I'm looking at an order right now that was determined to be very low risk of fraud. As you can see over here under risk score, it gets a 0.1 out of a score of 0 to 100. So this is very low chance of fraud. And the reason for that is that, it's a low risk country. You can see that the country did match the bank country. The IP address matched. They're not using a free email provider. The name matched. You can also scroll down and you can see their IP address, what billing information that was entered, and this just helps you to find out, if your orders are fraudulent or not. Now if I go back and I look at one that had a high fraud score, for instance, let's see here, one of these. Now this one at the top is telling me 10, high risk, and under here, under risk score, I have a 56.01. That means there's a 56% chance that this is fraudulent, and that's pretty high. Our system actually rejects these if it's that high. You can see in red the reasons why. For instance here, country match. They didn't match the country that the credit card number was, or the credit card number is from the US. However, they said, or their IP says, that they're from Nigeria. Nigeria is also considered a high-risk country, very high risk in fact, and they're using a free email provider. So with all of this information, the system can tell, this is a pretty high chance that this is fraud. Also, it shows you the distance from their IP address to their billing address in kilometers, and here we have 9,645 kilometers difference. So this system is really invaluable. For each query that you run, it only costs less than a penny. For that kind of price, you can run this on every single transaction. It also helps you save on your credit card transaction costs because you can run the fraud score on it before it actually goes to your payment gateway. Most times payment gateways charge you about 20 cents per transaction, so you run this before it goes there, and then you don't have to pay that 20 cents if it detects that it's high enough fraud. This is really a great system. Let's look at another one just to get an idea here. You can see again, this one gets a score of 1. Here, risk score 1.02, so 1% chance of fraud. Here we have a few miles between, but still, enough other stuff is good that the system says, okay, this is good. So what you do normally when you're using this with the e-commerce provider is you kind of tell it, what risk score that you're willing to accept, excuse me, and then they will only continue if the risk score is at that or lower. If the risk score is higher, it would show the customer an error such as, this has been detected to be fraud, and then you just send them back to the previous screen. It's a great service. I highly recommend it, and I use it for all of my stores.